Welcome to the next vlog in this series. Brethren, I'd love it if you give me a little bit of feedback if you're still enjoying these vlogs. I know it's a little bit different to what I've done earlier, and I will be out and about again soon, but I just thought this was a really useful topic, so let me know what you're thinking about it. This one and the next one will be the last ones in this series, but today we're going to get into a little bit of the psychology of brotherly love and how we can interact better with each other and avoid sparking points. Okay, so I'm going to talk about 4 different types of personalities, and this is not a new thought. Right back 500 years BC, Hippocrates thought that there were 4 different types of people, but he thought it was down to the amounts of particular bodily fluids that you had. So his types were choleric, and these were the natural leaders, very tough-minded people. There were the sanguine, and these were the optimistic, outgoing, fun-loving type people. Then there was melancholic, and they liked orderly lives and were a bit prone to mood changes. And then finally there was phlegmatic. Guess what type of bodily fluid they had a lot of. And these are people who like to observe from the sidelines and are fairly compliant. So this idea that people fall into 4 broad types, and of course there are grey areas and people are generally a mixture of all of them, that's persisted. Most psychologists agree with that, but they don't put it down to bodily fluids. It's more down to preferences and nature and nurture, I guess. So I'm going to talk about 4 different types, and I've got a little diagram here to show you of these 4 types, and I'm going to use some words to describe each of the 4 types, and I want you to listen very carefully, because if you relate to any of those words, if you think that they are positive attributes and you would like to be thought of as being like that, then that's probably what you are like. If you think that, you know, perhaps they're not so positive, if you would not like to be described as such, then you're probably not that type. So have a listen, see if you can identify who you are, and also perhaps the people around you, your partners, your workmates, your best friends. How do those attributes measure up looking at those people? So I'm going to start at in the red in the top right, the controllers. So different psychology systems use different terms and different colours, but the colours here really do reflect the nature of that character. So controllers, these are people who are very positive. They're often seen as leaders. They're very bold, competitive, assertive, dynamic, strong-willed. They can be demanding. They like things done quickly, and they're not really interested in the detail. Let somebody else look after that. They often are leaders of organisations, and they're very focused, and they've got drive, and they know where they're going, and they know how to get there. So that's the controllers. Then underneath that in yellow are the entertainers. So these are very cheerful, sociable people, and they're very buoyant, persuasive. They make great salespeople. They have a sunny disposition. They like lots of fun. They can be very excitable and enthusiastic, and they need to be liked. They need lots of that positive strokes, but they're great fun to be around. Moving around then to the green, the mediators. These are tranquil, peaceful, patient, caring people. Often have a very calming and soothing feel about them. They usually have very strong personal values. They don't like conflict, and they'll do anything to avoid conflict. But, you know, any kind of environmental issue that upsets them, then beware, because that's when you'll find them to be almost fiery. They always tend to put others first. It makes them happy to look after other people. They're often in occupations like teaching or nursing, caring type occupations. And then up to the blue, the perfectionists. Well, that's a very good description, because they are very precise and exact. They make very good proofreaders. They can be cautious, they ask lots of questions, analytical, objective. They don't show their feelings, so when you're talking to them, you've no idea what they're thinking about what it is you're saying. So that's broadly what the 4 types are like. Now, of course, if you are that particular type, then those words that I've used will be attractive to you. But if you are not of those types, if you are a different type, then you might view that behaviour as different. So, for example, if you are with someone or you're looking at someone who is a controller and you are perhaps a mediator, then what other people might see as assertive, you might see it as aggressive. You might see them as intolerant or controlling. Similarly, if you are a mediator, or if you are talking to a mediator, but you are, for example, a controller, then you might see them as stubborn or a bit docile and plodding, and so on. So what the 4 types think of each other is quite important, and it tends to be the diagonal opposites that really don't understand each other. So, for example, the entertainers think that the perfectionists are boring and cold, and geeks maybe. They also think they're suspicious because they tend to ask lots of questions. Whereas the perfectionists thinks the entertainers are a bit brainless, superficial, not really interested in anything serious, they just want to have fun. And then the controllers and mediators, well, there's often some unbridled conflict there. So the mediators will avoid conflict, but they tend to get in little barbs that maybe are a bit uncalled for, but are a bit under the surface, I suppose. So the mediators think that the controllers are unkind and intolerant and controlling and aggressive, and they're a bit scared of them, really. The controllers think the mediators are doormats. You know, why would you want to put somebody else's needs before your own? They think that, you know, you could walk all over them quite easily, and often just dismiss them. In the workplace, you often find that you have a controller as a boss and a mediator as a very valuable team member, but neither of them understand each other, and therefore they don't get the best out of each other. So have a think about who you are. Leave me some feedback if you have decided which of those categories you fit into, or if indeed you think you're a mixture of all of them. Have a think about it and let me know. Drop some feedback on this post. I'd be really pleased to hear it. And in the next vlog, I'm going to talk about how you can get on with other people who are not the same type as you, who you maybe don't quite understand. And how to value them, really, how to value what they are good at. So I'm going to talk about that tomorrow, how to adapt and thereby connect better with other people. And then the other thing I'm going to talk about is how the individual types work at a task. So, for example, you would guess, I suppose, that your entertainers would be the ones in the lodge who are very good at organising social events. They're the ones who will really make it go with a zing. But your perfectionists, if they were organising a social event, they'd make sure that all the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed. So it might never happen. On the other hand, if it did happen, it would be very well organised. So I'm going to talk about those things on the next vlog. So see you soon, and please do give me some feedback. Bye.